Imagine for a moment you own this expansive rural property. It's beautiful, right? Rich with timber, alive with wildlife. But maybe right now it's just sitting there, not really generating any income. It's easy to just see it as, well, a cost or maybe just a place you enjoy personally. But what if you're overlooking some hidden value? What if that land could actually do more for you and maybe even for itself in ways you hadn't quite considered? That's really the question we're tackling in this deep dive. Today, we're going to unpack the surprising advantages of leasing rural land specifically for hunting. Our mission is to explore how this approach can, well, transform things, not just the landowner's finances, but also land management, conservation, even local heritage. It's about seeing that land through a slightly different lens.
Right, and we're drawing heavily on this really insightful article. It's called The Surprising Advantages of Leasing Rural Land for Hunting. Does a great job uncovering what many landowners might, miss about their own property. So we're aiming to pull out the most crucial nuggets from that piece, give you a solid understanding of this often overlooked opportunity.
Okay, let's dive right in then. The most immediate thing people think of is probably money, right? Creating additional income. But, rural land often has significant costs. How does leasing it actually make a real difference? Is it a reliable boost or just sort of pocket money?
Oh, it's definitely more than pocket money. And what's really interesting is how reliable it can be compared to other uses. Think about farming. You've got weather, you've got fluctuating prices.
Right, so much uncertainty.
Exactly. But with hunting leases, you often secure that cash flow up front. It's independent of those agricultural cycles. So you're not just adding income, you're diversifying. You're strengthening your whole financial picture. And it capitalizes on the land's natural value without needing, huge investments in new buildings or whatever. It can be profitable and, like the article says, pretty unobtrusive.
Profitable and unobtrusive. I like the sound of that. But how consistent is this income, really? Is it just a seasonal thing? Am I going to be chasing payments?
Generally, no. Good lease agreements are often structured as kind of set and forget for the landowner. Once that agreement's in place, you can usually expect regular payments without needing constant management or putting in a lot more money.
Okay.
And a well-written lease can generate income even outside the main hunting season. No extra effort needed from you. It's a strategic way to boost profits while, crucially, maintaining the ecological health of the property. It's sort of a win-win.
That sounds pretty stable for ongoing income.
Right.
What about locking things in more? Is there potential for longer commitments, for even greater certainty?
Absolutely. Long-term contracts are a big part of this for some landowners and lessees. They offer several advantages. First, obviously, that consistent income stream you can really plan around.
Right, makes budgeting easier.
Definitely. And it simplifies your overall management. You know what to expect long-term. This kind of stability can also appeal to certain types of investors, which might open up other possibilities for the property. Plus, think about it, long-term lessees. They have a real vested interest. They're more likely to engage in good, ongoing wildlife management because they want that quality to last.
Good point. They benefit too.
Exactly. And for you, the landowner, it gives you more leverage up front when setting terms and prices. That's key for business planning. And ultimately, these longer leases tend to build stronger relationships. There's more mutual respect, more care for the land involved.
Okay, so the financial side is compelling. Stable income, potential for long-term security. But you mentioned the article goes beyond just the money. It suggests leasing actually impacts the health of the land itself. How does leasing for hunting actually, enhance land management? That sounds a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, it does at first glance, doesn't it? But here's how it works. Leasing actively encourages better land management. Why? Because the lessees, who are often very passionate hunters, want a healthy habitat. They have a direct interest.
Okay, makes sense.
So it's not just theory. It leads to healthier environments, more appealing conditions for wildlife. This naturally increases the land's ecological value. And importantly, it fosters a real sense of stewardship among those leasing the land. The article talks about this win-win ecology. The money from the leases can be put right back into the property.
Like reinvesting the profits?
Precisely. Think about enhancing habitat diversity and maybe planting certain types of vegetation, controlling invasive species, managing wildlife populations sustainably. All these things contribute to the land's long-term value appreciation. You get benefits you might not otherwise achieve without that funding and, frankly, the help on the ground.
So it's not just managing for hunting, it's broader conservation too. How specifically do these leases contribute to that?
They really do. Often, the leases themselves will have clauses written in that support sustainability and ecological health. Conservation becomes part of the deal. And here's a really practical point. Just having responsible hunters present on the land is a huge deterrent to poachers.
Ah, I hadn't thought of that. Eyes and ears on the property.
Exactly. It safeguards wildlife from illegal hunting. Plus, the agreements usually enforce sustainable practices, bag limits, ethical hunting, that sort of thing. So the hunters become partners in preserving the land's health. It also means someone's paying attention to wildlife numbers, helping make informed decisions about habitat work. Is the population healthy? Does it need support? And that lease income. It can directly fund things like reforestation, creating wildlife corridors between fragmented habitats, protecting wetlands, really vital conservation work. Stepping back, you see how controlled hunting, managed this way, becomes a tool. It's essential for balanced ecosystems. The income gets reinvested, promoting species health, ecosystem vitality. It encourages biodiversity. It helps create a thriving environment.
That's a powerful connection. The land isn't just being used, it's actually benefiting. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about the human side? Community, tradition, how does leasing play into that?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting culturally. In many rural areas, hunting isn't just a hobby, it's central to life.
Yeah.
It's woven into the community's fabric.
Not at the identity.
Exactly. So by leasing land, landowners are actually helping pass down those traditions, mentoring younger generations, keeping those skills and values alive. It also brings together people with shared interests, shared values. It builds a deep respect for the land and its creatures. So in a way, it's about preserving and honoring the heritage that defines that rural identity.
Preserving heritage.
Yeah.
That's a strong point. Can you give some specific examples? How does leasing support these traditions day to day?
Sure, there are several ways. It encourages young people to get outdoors, away from screens.
Yeah, definitely important.
It promotes ethical hunting and responsible wildlife management through the lease rules and just the culture around it. It directly preserves that rural heritage by providing access and opportunity. It can even give a little boost to local economies, think hunting-related tourism, supplies, maybe local guides. And it fosters those community connections, shared experiences on the land, stories told. It builds bonds. So when landowners lease their land like this, they're not just renting space. They're kind of guardians of a legacy, shaping the community.
That makes sense. It also brings up the relationships you mentioned earlier. How do landowners build these connections with lessees? Is it just a business transaction or more?
That's a really crucial question for making this work well long-term. It's definitely more than just landlord-tenant, ideally. When landowners are thoughtful about who they lease to, they're choosing collaborators, people who value stewardship. That builds trust, partnership. It ensures the land is respected.
So selecting the right people is key.
Absolutely. Choosing responsible hunters shows a commitment to sustainability, and that attracts like-minded people. People dedicated to ethical practices who will contribute positively. It aligns with those rural values we talked about. You're entrusting the land to people who get it. And these partnerships become a way to educate people about good land management, too. Often, these lessees become real champions for the property. They go the extra mile because they care.
Like unofficial caretakers.
Exactly. It fosters this deeper understanding of stewardship. And that collaboration boosts conservation efforts, can increase biodiversity. The selection process should involve mutual understanding, finding that alignment in goals. When it works well, it moves beyond just money changing hands. It becomes a real collaboration, maybe even introducing new ideas that benefit the land, the community, aligning all those values, economic, ecological, and cultural. It's like having an extended family helping care for the land.
Okay, so we've hit the finances, the land's health, the community aspect. But the article also mentions some really practical, maybe less obvious benefits, like reducing the landowner's own workload and costs. Tell me about lowering maintenance expenses.
Right, this is a big one for owners of large tracts. Leasing can be a surprisingly smart way to cut down on upkeep costs. Engaging responsible hunters doesn't just bring in revenue, it provides stewardship for those big areas.
Stewardship, okay. How so?
Well, these lessees often naturally take on roles. They become, like you said, unofficial caretakers, or land custodians, as the article puts it. They might help prevent poaching, keep an eye out for invasive species, maybe even maintain trails or fences.
Stuff the landowner would otherwise have to pay for or do themselves.
Exactly. It eases that financial and physical burden. Because their interests align, they want good access, healthy game, they're motivated to keep the land in good shape. This shared responsibility becomes a really cost-effective way to maintain the property's appeal and function.
That's a pretty significant perk. It sounds almost like having a free property management team that actually pays you. Can you give a few more concrete examples of how they help with land care? What kinds of things are they actually doing?
Oh, sure. Lessees can be really vital. They're often the first to spot problems, like pests or diseases starting, which is crucial. Their presence, as we mentioned, deters poaching and helps prevent overhunting. They often maintain access roads, clearing fallen branches after a storm, maybe minor repairs. That improves accessibility for everyone.
Right.
They might maintain facilities like hunting blinds or feeding stations, keeping them safe and usable. They act as monitors, too, spotting illegal dumping, reporting environmental threats, things that could cost the landowner a fortune to clean up later.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes they're involved in managing vegetation, clearing underbrush, helping manage forest density, which actually lowers wildfire risk. That's huge in many areas.
Wow, that is a lot of help. A huge weight off the owner's shoulders. And speaking of burdens, security.
Especially for big, remote properties, surveillance can be expensive. How does leasing help there?
That's another major practical benefit. Landowners often spend a lot trying to monitor and protect large, remote areas. Leasing the land for hunting effectively creates a natural surveillance system.
How so?
Just having legitimate users regularly present discourages unauthorized access, trespassing, vandalism. The hunters act as informal guardians. Their presence makes trespassers think twice, can minimize theft of timber or equipment.
So less need for fences, cameras, security patrols, maybe?
It can certainly reduce the need for those expensive measures. Because these lessees have a stake in the land's well-being, they're more likely to notice and report suspicious activity quickly. You get security without the high cost. So yeah, a hunting lease can definitely trim the budget for security and surveillance. Gives you peace of mind too. And maybe just a quick related point here, insurance is important. Landowners should look into specific policies like vacant land insurance or hunting lease insurance. Good reminder.
Yeah, understanding the different types of coverage is key to protecting your assets fully. Having the right policy really underpins the whole arrangement.
Okay, so putting it all together, it really is a surprisingly broad set of benefits, isn't it? From steady income, better land health, preserving community traditions, even reducing your own maintenance and security costs. It's clearly much more than just a simple financial deal. It feels like a strategic partnership.
It really is. It encourages this unique kind of shared stewardship. It fosters ecological health and cultural richness at the same time. So maybe the final thought for listeners is this. What hidden value might your property hold? Or maybe even a different kind of asset you own? What could happen if you looked at it through this lens of shared stewardship and strategic partnership?
That's a great question to leave people with. It definitely makes you think. How could looking at things differently, maybe forming some unconventional alliances, unlock benefits you hadn't even considered before? Lots to mull over there.